Today, we're going to be going through 10 starter credit cards that have no annual fee that every Australian should consider. Now, for those of you who can remember, I actually posted a video in May of 2020 discussing the 5 best credit cards for beginners in Australia. And ultimately, you guys ended up loving it. So considering that video was made so long ago, I thought it was about time that we created an update for any of you out there looking to start your credit card journey. Now, if any of you find even the slightest bit of value, Alan and I would really appreciate just a gentle tapping of the like button. It shouldn't take you more than a second. And like all of the credit cards we're going to go over today, it's absolutely free. So if you wouldn't mind just going down and doing that, we would really appreciate it. Now, before we jump into the first credit card, there's 2 things that I want you to keep in mind. The first thing to keep in mind is that the list I've curated today is in no specific order. So by no means is the first one any better or worse than the last one. Each of the credit cards I've selected has a unique value proposition that for an individual may be valuable or not. So make sure that you watch through all of them. And the other thing to keep in mind as we go through this list is I'm not going to mention or reference any interest rates whatsoever. And this is for one simple reason. In my opinion, when using a credit card, you should never hold a balance. And so you should never pay any interest. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, isn't it irresponsible to sign up or consider a credit card if you have no idea what the interest rate is? And yes it is. So make sure if you do go ahead and apply for any of these credit cards that you do double check all of the fees and charges, all of the terms and conditions, so you know everything that's involved with this specific credit card. Because believe me, credit cards can be extremely dangerous. And if you don't believe me, maybe me from a year and a half ago will be a little more convincing. Let's say you have $15,000 in credit card debt at an 18% interest rate. If you were to only pay the minimum repayment on that, which is all that's required for most credit cards, it will take you 50 years and 3 months to pay that off. Now, the time length in and of itself is insane. But listen to this, over that 50 years, you won't only pay back the $15,000 in debt that you had, but you will also pay $40,483 in interest alone. So as you can see, the negative impacts of getting yourself into a situation like that would far outweigh any benefits there are to opening a credit card and earning a few rewards here and there. But for all of you risky and probably overconfident people out there, let's jump into the 10 best credit cards with no annual fee for Australians. The first card on this list is the American Express Velocity Escape card. Funnily enough, this is actually the card my wife Magella has, and like all of the cards on this list, it has a $0 annual fee. But for a free card like this, you actually get quite a few benefits. To begin, this card is actually partnered with Virgin Australia's Velocity Frequent Flyer program. And so every time you spend, you earn different amounts of Velocity points dependent on the type of transaction you have. On eligible Virgin Australia purchases, you actually earn 1.75 Velocity points for every $1 spent. Any other transactions outside of government bodies earn you 0.75 Velocity points per $1 spent, and any expenses with government bodies earn you 0.5 Velocity points per $1 spent. You also get Amex's refund and purchase cover, which covers eligible purchases that are made with the card that are damaged or stolen at a later date. Or if a retailer you recently purchased something from is refusing to give you a refund, Amex will cover that as well. Now, in terms of the eligibility for this card, you need to be over the age of 18, an Australian citizen, permanent resident, or on a long-term visa. You need to have no history of bad debt or payment default. And finally, you need to have an annual income of $40,000 or more. Now, for any of you out there thinking, oh, my income isn't quite at $40,000 a year right now, don't worry, this video wasn't labeled beginners for no reason. $40,000 a year is actually the highest income limit for any of the credit cards we're going to talk about today. So if your income isn't quite at that $40,000 mark, don't worry, the majority of the cards we're yet to talk about will be under that requirement. Moving on to the next card in the list, we have Kogan's Money Black card. For any of you die-hard Kogan fans out there, or really for anyone who needs to buy an appliance or some electronics in the next few months, this card's for you. To begin, for anyone who spends $1,500 or more on eligible purchases in the first 90 days after approval, they'll actually get a $500 Kogan.com credit. Now, just a quick disclaimer, this is only a limited time offer, and if this card is right for you, you will need to apply by the 10th of April 2022 in order to be eligible for the $500. But just keep in mind, gaining $500 in Kogan.com credit isn't going to be worth it if you're spending an extra $1,500 just to meet this criteria. But if you can simply use this credit card on purchases you were already going to make in the first 2 months of having it, then it's a nice bonus. On top of that, for every eligible purchase made on the card, you can earn up to 2 Kogan reward points for every dollar spent. And finally, in having this card, you also get complimentary Kogan First membership. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't used Kogan a whole lot. However, last year during winter, I went onto Kogan and actually found a really well-priced oil heater. And at checkout, I was given the option for a free trial of their Kogan First membership. And with that, not only did I get express shipping and exclusive offers for a week, but for that initial purchase, I actually got free shipping on that item, which saved me, I think, around $10. So if you have any Kogan purchases coming up, this complimentary membership could save you a lot in shipping fees. In terms of eligibility criteria, for this card, you need to have an income of $35,000 a year or more and have good credit history. You need to be 18 years old or over and be a permanent Australian resident, and you need to have a valid email address and mobile number. For the next card on this list, we have Virgin Money's no annual fee card. Now for this card, there aren't too many fancy bells or whistles, but they do offer a couple solid features that aren't really unique, but are nonetheless useful. Like the ability to add up to 4 additional card holders at no extra fee, and Fraud Shield, which is basically an around-the-clock security service. And this makes sure that if you fall victim to any fraudulent or dodgy activity, that you're not going to be held liable. In terms of the income level required for this card, Virgin Money only list a required annual income of $25,000 or more, and similar to the others, they require that you're over the age of 18 and an Australian resident. The card that I've arbitrarily chose to be 4th on this list is Latitude's 28-degree Global Platinum Mastercard. Now at the time of filming, this card comes with a limited offer of complimentary travel insurance, and as you'll soon find out, this card is definitely themed around travel. Anyone who holds this card will not only enjoy no international transaction or currency conversion fees, but on top of that, they'll also enjoy complimentary global Wi-Fi access and a flight delay pass, which is awesome because if you're overseas for either work or play, you don't need to stress about making purchases and paying fees. And on top of that, you'll get free Wi-Fi access. And if for whatever reason your flight is delayed for 2 hours or more and you've registered it with Latitude, your flight delay pass gives you and 4 friends access to a number of airport lounges, which if you haven't been before, includes free drinks, free food, and sometimes a shower, which when you're traveling is such a luxury. In terms of eligibility criteria, they're pretty standard, 18 years old and a permanent Australian resident. And although they do ask for details around your income, your assets, and your debt, they haven't actually mentioned a specific annual income requirement. So what I would recommend you do is try getting in contact with Latitude directly at the time or around the time you're wanting to apply for the card. See if they can give you any indication as to whether you may or may not be eligible. Now, the reason I feel like this is an important step and why I wouldn't recommend just going straight ahead and applying is because they likely have a rough income or wealth level in mind. And if you're way below that and you put in an application, then that could potentially hurt your credit score. Because, long story short, when you apply for a new credit line, i.e. apply for a credit card, the assessor will have to take out a hard inquiry on your credit report, and that can damage your score. Now, if any of you out there have no idea what I just said, and you want to learn more about credit scores, how you can improve them, how to check them even, I actually made a detailed video over a year ago that I would highly recommend that you check out. So I'll put a card here and also a link in the description. So make sure to go and watch that video after you're finished with this one and before you put in any application for a credit card. The next card we're going to talk about is the American Express Essential Credit Card. Right off the bat, at the time of filming, this card is actually offering $200 back when you apply for their credit card and spend $1,500 in the first 3 months. Now, this is only available to new American Express card members, but if in the next 3 months you have at least $1,500 worth of expenses that you're going to make anyway, then applying for this card, popping those purchases or transactions on the card could actually get you an extra $200. Like a few of the other cards on this list, you actually earn reward points every time you spend on this card. In this case, you earn 1.25 reward points for every dollar spent on non-government body purchases and 1 point for every dollar spent on government body purchases. Now, unlike Velocity Frequent Flyer or Kogan points, these points are American Express, which can either be used for American Express offers directly, or you're actually able to transfer those points into the reward program of your liking. On top of that, if you purchase a smartphone with this credit card and end up smashing your screen, this card includes $500 of cover. In terms of eligibility requirements, this card is again on the higher end of the spectrum, requiring at least $40,000 a year worth of income. But other than that, as you can see here, their other eligibility criteria is pretty standard. The next card we're going to talk about, again, doesn't have many frills. It's Frank, Mi Bank's low rate credit card. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about interest rates, but that's basically the main pull feature of this specific credit card, as they have an 11.99 interest rate at the moment. And that's the lowest across all 10 cards that we're going to talk about here today. Now, some of you may notice that it says variable rate there. And I think it's a good time to mention that a lot of the things that are mentioned here are variable. So they can change from year to year. You may sign up for a card with a specific set of benefits or rates, whatever it may be. And after a year, that could change. So consider this a warning to always read through the fine print. And if you do open a card, make sure to read the emails that they send through even after you've been approved years into the future, because you never know what's going to happen and it's always good to be informed. In terms of eligibility for this card, you've got to be over the age of 18, an Australian citizen or a permanent Australian resident, and this card requires that you're employed and earning a regular and verifiable income that's at least $25,000 a year. Next on the list, we've got the Citi Simplicity card. As a Citi Simplicity card holder, you get complimentary purchase cover insurance and extended warranty insurance. On top of that, you'll also enjoy $10 cash back on Deliveroo purchases that are above $25 until the 30th of June 2022. In terms of the minimum annual income requirement for this card, you're going to be looking at $35,000 a year or more. And again, you'll be looking to be over the age of 18 and a permanent Australian resident. The 8th card we'll be talking about today is the Coles Platinum No Annual Fee Mastercard. At the time of filming, this card is offering $150 off your next Coles purchase when you spend $1,000 in the first 60 days of owning the card. And again, like quite a few of the cards we've already spoken about today, this card also offers one additional Flybuys reward points for every $2 spent on eligible purchases. Now, if you're anything like me and you look at the Flybuys reward program and think, there really isn't much there for me, just bear in mind that Flybuys actually has an affiliation with the Velocity Frequent Flyer program. So once you've accumulated 1,000 Flybuys points, you're able to convert those to 500 Velocity Frequent Flyer points. And if you're anything like me, you'll know that that makes this program a lot more valuable. Funnily enough, just yesterday, I converted 3,000 Flybuys points to 1,500 Velocity points because I actually needed a few extra points to get myself a flight from Sydney to the Gold Coast. Now, I haven't really spoken about frequent flyer points here on the channel and how I use them all the time to get flights between the Gold Coast where I'm from and Sydney where I live. So if any of you guys are interested to see how that works and how I'm able to get pretty much any domestic flight for under $50, then just let me know in the comment section below and I'll think about creating a video on that. Now, in terms of the eligibility criteria for this card, you can see there that it's pretty standard. You need a minimum annual income of $25,000 or more. The only other criteria worth mentioning is that you do need to have an existing Flybuys membership. So make sure, if you don't already, that you create an account before you end up applying for this card. Now, for the 9th spot on this list, we kind of have a twofer. We have Bankwest's Classic Zero Mastercard and their Platinum Mastercard. Now both cards are pretty similar, however the Platinum version offers 0 foreign transaction fees when you transact online from foreign retailers, and they also offer complimentary travel insurance. Now similar to the Latitude card, Bankwest don't advertise a minimum income requirement for either of their cards. So again, I would recommend that you contact Bankwest directly and just try and get an indication for what they're looking for, because you don't want to apply for a card if you're going to be automatically denied based on your income level. But other than that, the eligibility criteria is pretty straightforward. And for the final card on this list, number 10, we have my personal card, the Qantas American Express Discovery Card. Now at the time of filming, this card actually offers a bonus 10,000 Qantas points for anyone who applies and spends $750 in the first 3 months on eligible purchases. Again, for every dollar spent, you're earning Qantas points. So for eligible Qantas products and services, you'll be earning 1.75 Qantas points per dollar spent. For any transactions that aren't made with government bodies, you're going to be earning 0.75 Qantas points per dollar spent. And for all government body purchases, you'll be earning 0.5 Qantas points per dollar spent. Again, you've got all of the standard Amex security benefits, and you've actually got an income requirement that's actually $5,000 per year less than the other Amex cards mentioned on this list. So for this card, you only need an income of $35,000 a year or more. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, check out one of our other videos and I'll see you in the next one.